Section 6 was a long gully filled with big dry granite rocks. Lots of traction in here, but some of the rocks were a problem to get over. At this point right here, a lot of riders took 5s. Looking at the rest of the section, a real hard part coming up right here, and the exit is up to the right-hand corner of the picture. Kurt Kummer riding next, USA's number 7 rider. And Kurt had a 5 and did not finish the event. Johnny Anderson from Sweden, but living in the USA, number 2 rider here. He's riding the 4-stroke Honda. Not too many of these are seen in world competition anymore. The technology now is toward the quicker 2-stroke engines. And Johnny gets a 5 right at the exit. Jordy loves these dry rock sections where there's plenty of traction. This is just what's outside of his back door where he lives up northeast of Barcelona. Jordy went on to clean this section, and he and Amos Bilbao and Thierry Girard were the only 3 riders to clean this section all 3 of their rides. Diego Bozas had a clean, a 2 and a clean. Thierry Michaud had a clean, a 1 and a clean. Steve Saunders with 2 cleans and a 1. And they gave Gabino a 5 right at that point for stopping just a bit too long with his foot down. Now here's a young rider to keep your eye on. Tommy Avila from Finland, just turned 17, and he has really improved over this last year. He's developing into a strong, smart rider, and watch for him to be number 1 or close to it in a couple of years. Nice ride from Donato. You give these top riders big rocks with lots of traction, and there isn't too much that they can't ride over. Peter Jan from Finland riding next. And he'll be a married man here in about 2 more weeks. Peter learned to ride on a trials bike that his father made for him. His father was real big in motorcycling in Finland and has held many national titles in that country. Section number 9 was a very slippery, spectacular waterfall. It provided lots of thrills for the spectators and also quite a few thrills for some of the less talented riders. Most of the top riders got through this section. There were 12 cleans, but if you didn't make it, it was quite a scary slide back down to the bottom. We asked Bernie Schreiber, who was standing down at the bottom, to analyze this section for us.
I'd probably, it's definitely been the toughest section after seeing all the sections. This has been really, really difficult. And there's a couple different lines here. One thing I've noticed, the first couple sections up to here the riders feel they're going to get more difficult on the second lap. They seem to be in a hurry. And I think they've got here, these last two are section 5 and this one is slippery. And I think these sections you want to wait till a few riders have kind of knocked the moss off these rocks.
That's probably why Jordy's taking his time right here, right?
Right, I think you're going to find a lot of the top riders slow down and they wait in this section until everybody else passes through. And but I think there's two different lines here, and I noticed Jody looking at two different lines. And it's difficult. I can tell that all the preparation, if you're going to hit that thing straight on, is going to be down here.
Yes.
And I don't know. It looks like it could be a third gear section.
What have you been doing now with your free time? Have you been doing any riding, or are you just traveling around the countries as a manufacturer's rep, or what about your activities?
No, I just haven't been riding trials very much at all. Haven't had a motorcycle. Haven't really had time to ride it. As you know, in Europe, it's kind of cold and snowy in the winter. So the time that I did have to ride, I was unable to ride. But mostly I've been working as the company's rep in Europe.
I was watching you in the trials school, and you were still looking very smooth and fluid on that trials bike. Do you feel maybe if you had a bike to ride today, you could do, break the top 10?
The top 10, no. I think it'd be very, very difficult to break into the top 10. I think if I would have rode the National yesterday, I could have finished, within the top 3 places yesterday. I haven't ridden in a while. I'm not really used to one bike or another bike, which is kind of a critical thing to...
How about the caliber of sections since you've kind of more or less retired? Do you find that they're getting a little more technical and a little more difficult to match the riders' increased skill levels now, or what do you feel about that?
I don't know if the American round has been, the American Nationals have increased as much as the other national championships throughout Europe. But the World Championship has definitely made a big progression in the last two years.
Thanks, Bernie, for those comments. Johnny Anderson tries the wide line, trying to avoid the slickest part of the waterfall, but you still have to go over that last ledge up there, and that's probably one of the slickest parts of the section. This didn't get much better during the day. It remained pretty slick throughout the whole trials. The entrance was down the creek a bit. Basically, most of the riders did not have any problem with this first part. Just a big S-turn over a bunch of off-camber rocks, as Jordy's doing here. And now a left turn, and he'll be looking right at the waterfall. This is where you need to get acceleration, right here. And Jordy can't quite put it together. He scored a 5. That's his brother and helper rider right there behind him now, probably telling him what he should have done. Yeah, it looks like Ron Coma's going to try the same line that Johnny Anderson did. Well, he's in trouble now. And chalk up one fender and a 5. Looks like this man's all set for a hanging party, but that's Donato Miglio's helper rider. He's getting all set for Donato's ride with a little loop in the rope there to hang on to in case he needs to grab Donato or his bike to keep him from sliding back down the waterfall. And Renato wisely decides not to try it. Jerry Gerard almost makes it. One of the first riders to get to the top of the waterfall. Donato's going to take just a bit different line in this corner. He went just a little bit wider. Most of the other riders were turning right to the front of that rock pile where his front wheel is, cutting the corner a bit short. The rest of the riders now are making the trick turn and backing their back wheel up on the rock to act as kind of a ramp to get just a bit more acceleration to get up the waterfall. This definitely made a difference. Real nice ride with the one. And Ryan takes the corner wide also. Nice ride with the two. And that's the only time any U.S. or Canadian rider would make it up this waterfall. Not quite enough speed from Gabino. Amos could be in trouble right here. Amazing. He found the traction somewhere, just right up the waterfall. Nice ride. Eddie Lejeune had a 5, a clean, and a 2. Berlotti, 2 5s and a 3. Codina, 2 5s and a clean. Escalcateri, 2 5s and a 1. And Louis Kalak, 1 and 2 5s. A real nice ride from Steve with a clean. Beautiful ride from Theory with another clean. Theory and Steve had the best rides in this section, each one just losing 1 point. And a 5 from Diego. This was another very good section. Lots of rocks in the creek. Very good throttle control was required here to keep the back end from slipping. A difficult part right there. Lots of points were taken on this rock coming up right here in front of Donato. And one more hard part of the section. Through a bunch of rocks. That's right in front of him now. Up the creek a bit. And then a left turn to the exit. They had to have plenty of acceleration to get up this very slick rock that is right in front of Amos now. Nice bit of balancing. Andrew Codina giving him a few words of encouragement. And they scored him a 2 in this section. And Ryan has scored a 5 right on that ledge. We just missed Jordy's ride. He had a clean on it. In fact, he cleaned the section all 3 times he rode. So did Diego Bozes. Tommy Avila had a clean, a 5 and a clean. Barry Gerard, 3, 5, 5. Gilberto, 3, 5, 1. Philippe Berladier, 5 clean and a 3. Eddie Lejeune, 5, 2, 3. Peter John, 1, 5, 2. Johnny Anderson had 3 5s. Ron Como had a 5, a 3, and a 5. And Magic Mark Manico, 3 5s. Section 12 was a short, rocky section in the creek. Most of the riders had already ridden this by the time we got here. The entrance was probably the hardest part. An off-camber, very slanted and slippery rock took a lot of points. And one more little ledge here to go over. Right at the exit here. Dropped quite a few points for a lot of riders here also. Third makes a fairly good ride with the 2. Only one rider cleaned this section, Steve Saunders on his first loop. Jordy had a 1, 2, and a 1. Avila, 2, 3, 3. Miglio, 1, 3, 1. Saunders, clean 1, 2. Gerard, 3, 3, 1. Gilberto, 1, 3, 3. Amos Bilbao, 3, 2, 2. Berlatier, 3, 2, 3. And Eddie Lejeune, Brian Young, Johnny Anderson, and Magic Mark Manico all took 3s. Nice ride from Pascal with a 1. Oh, Diego almost 5s it here. And he's out with a 3. We'll take a slow motion look at Ron Schmelze in section number 13. This was a very scenic section located right in the mouth of a cave on the hillside. It was the second easiest section in the trials, and 5 riders cleaned this each time they rode it. Jordi Terrace, Donato Miglio, Thurry Gerard, Peter John, and Marco Reed. Thurry Michaud had a 5, a 1, and a clean. Brian Young, 2-1-5. Johnny Anderson, clean 5 clean. Ron Como, 2-1-2. Mark Manico, 1-5 and a 3. Steve Clark, 5-3-3. Andy Somm, a 5, a 3, and a 5. And Ron Schmelze at 3-5. Eddie Lejeune just going over the last part of the section. Off-camber right turn up this rock, and then a drop off the end to the exit. Section 14 was a series of turns over some very difficult rocks which wound up the hillside. Lots of 5s were taken in this section and only 1 clean. Ron Como now riding the section. The view of the entrance. Very difficult part right here where Thurry Gerard just rode over. A lot of points were taken there. Also coming up here, over a set of ledges here, about a wheelbase apart. That was another difficult part. And right up here at the exit that he's coming up to now was probably the most difficult part of the section. Pretty much of a trick turn was required right here to get the bike into the proper position to attack the exit rock. Right there, the hardest part, over a few more fairly good-sized rocks to the exit. And these were definitely slick. Diego Bozos had a 5 and 2 3s. Tommy Avila and Felipe Berladier a 1 and 2 5s. Donato Miglio a 3 and 2 5s. Amos Belbale 1 and 2 5s. Eddie Lejeune 2 5s and a 3. Pascal Couturier, Peter John, and Ryan Young all had 5s. And Johnny Anderson had a 5 and 2 3s. Yeah, good ride from Jordy Terrace coming up here. Excellent ride, but the only clean of the day in this section. Thierry Michaud's up next, and if you're into checking, you might go ahead and follow Thierry on his ride through this section and see how you'd score him. Well, they scored him a 5. And now Thierry finds out he's just been scored a 5. And he's coming down to get an explanation. I think most people would agree, though. He had his foot down just a bit too long while he was stopped back there in that corner. Steve Saunders riding next. And he's about in the same position that theory was. And Steve does almost the same thing that theory did, only Steve let his bike roll forward while he had his foot on the ground. And Steve's out with a 2. This was definitely the hardest section in the trials. Only the top riders made it through this section, and most of them only made it through twice or once. The entrance was very difficult, but this part right here, where Jordy's walking, this muddy, wet hillside, took the most points. Renato Cubillo about to ride. Makes a little contact with that tree. Back down this muddy, wet hillside. And right here was a hard part, making this turn. And then getting enough traction and momentum to get up the hill right in front of him. There's some very good displays of balance right down here in this part of the section. Notice the mud thrown up by Jordy's rear tire there as he started his acceleration. Caught a few of the spectators by surprise. Here's a real good ride coming up from Donato. And a good example of the display of balance that I was referring to before. Donato's going to come up with a little bit of a different line out of this corner. And here's where trick riding really comes in handy. Donato's trying to back his bike back into that corner where there's just a little bit more traction, and then get a shot at the hill. And Donato's the first rider to make it up the hill. And now for the rest of the section. Another trick turn was required here to be able to accelerate straight ahead over those rocks. And then it was just a bit of a left turn to the exit. Nice ride with the 2. We'll catch the last part of Steve's ride here. That's Thury's brother and helper rider Freddie, who's giving him some coaching right there on the sidelines. Freddie used to be one of the top riders in France about 10 to 15 years ago, and he still frequently rides a lot of the local events. Nice ride with the 3, and that was the last time Thury made it through that section. Diego Bozas had a 3, 5, and a 1. Philippe Berlatier, a 1 and 2 5s. Terry Gerard, 5, 3 and a 5. And all the rest of the riders 5 this section each time they rode it. Pascal finds a lot of traction left yet in the section. He gets right up that hill. He's got a bit of a different line coming up out of here. It's probably a safer line with a little bit more traction than what Terry and Steve rode. Straight up and out. Excellent ride with a 1. Section 18 was a big long hill climb that most of the top riders didn't have any problem with. Lots of RPM in third gear. A little clutch slippage to get you right up. Jody Terrace had a clean, a 3 and a 5. Avila and Miglio each had a 1, a clean, and a 2. Terry Gerard was the only top rider to clean this section all 3 times. Gilberto had 2 2s and a clean. Bilbao 5-3 clean. Berlatier with 3 5s. Peter John with a 1 and 2 5s. Johnny Anderson had 3 5s. Andrew runs out of speed here for a 5. Andy Somm had a 5, a 3, and a 5. Ron Schmelze gets close enough to see over the top. He settles back down for a 5. And here's how it should be done. Right up and over for a clean. We'll take one more look at section number 4 on the second lap. This section dried out just a bit, and it got easier on the second and third laps. Here's a ledge they were having troubles with on the first lap. And you can see how tight this trick turn area is to maneuver in right here. That was pretty close to a 5 there for Peter, but they scored him a 2. From this angle, you can see just how close to the edge that the riders are riding. Nice trick turn there from Andrew. This is one section where you really have to know where your back wheel is. Nice ride from Andrew with a 1. This was a tricky little section that took lots of points from the riders, mainly 1s and 2s. Only 5 riders cleaned this: Jordy, Thierry Gerard, Philippe Berlatier, Eddie Lejeune, and Marco Riet. There was just a lot of obstacles in this section that kept the riders real busy. And as a result, took lots of points from the riders. Right in here, there were a lot of points dropped. Thierry gets through there pretty easy. He scored a 1. A lot of points were also taken on this big angled rock here at the start of the section. Steve scores a 2. Jordy had a 1, a 3, and a clean. Miglio, 5-1-1. Gerard, 1-3-0. Chiaberto, 1-3-3. Berlatier and Lejeune each had a clean and 2 5s. Peter John, a 3-1 and a 5. Ryan Young, 3 3s. Johnny Anderson, 5-3-5. Ron Como with a 5 and 2 3s. And Magic Mark, the 2 5s and a 3. Tommy Avila makes it through with a 3. Here's another young rider to keep your eye on in the future. Amos is one of the ex-bicycle champs from Spain. He's a real good trick rider. He just turned 19 years old this summer. Look for him to place very high in the ratings this year and possibly in the top 5 next year. Last year, Pascal rode the JCM, but the factory just couldn't get it to work right. So this year, they're redesigning the whole bike. Meanwhile, Pascal's riding the Montesa, and he's doing a good job on it. Yeah, nice ride here with the 2. This was the second hardest section in this trials. A lot of the 5s were taken right on this big slick entrance rock. And one more hard spot further on into the section where you saw Thierry Gerard piling it before the opening. There were 2 ways to get to this first part. Either go around it like Philippe was doing right here, or else go right up the wall like Jordy's planning to do. Jordy 5 this section, his first 2 rides. And he gets up the slippery wall of rock there without too much of a problem. One more hard part coming up down this hill, and right ahead of him the part where a lot of riders 5'd it if they got that far. Jordy gets up there pretty easy. Moses had a 5 and 2 3s. Michaud 3.35. Avila 3.55. Miglio 3.55. Amos 5.53. Lejeune 3.55. Couturier 3.55. Peter John 3.35. And Ryan Young had a 3 and 2 5s. And all the rest of the riders had 5s. This section was either a 3 or a 5 for the top riders. Nice ride from Jordy with the 3. Steve Saunders with a big 5. This was the 3rd hardest section in the trials, and the few riders who did make it through here had either 3s or 5s. So we didn't spend a lot of time on this section, because when a rider has to push his bike through a section, it really doesn't show the skills that the rider has. This was the most difficult part of this section, just trying to get over this big slippery rock. The entrance rocks down here were also very slick. Trying to get up this part of it, a lot of riders took 5s right here. This is the last section we covered in this trials. Thierry Michaud dropping into section 17. He had a good ride his first time through here with a 1. But on his last two rides, he's had a 5. Tommy Avila had the best ride in this section with a 3, a 2, and a 3. Diego Bozas had a 2, 5, and a 3. Miglio, 2 5s and a 2. Gerard, 2 5s and a 3. Gilberto, 3 3 and a 2. Lejeune, 5 2 and a 3. And Peter John with 3 3s. And he's out with a 3. Later on this evening at the awards banquet, we asked trials master Nelson Crouch what he thought the biggest problem was in putting on this 3-day event.
I think the one hardest part of any of that is making sure that you have all the workers there the day of the event.
We also asked winner Jordi Terrace how this event compares with European ones.
I think today is more difficult than Europe because it's very hard with 18 sections, 3 laps, and 7 hours 50 is very difficult, no? Also with too much degree is more difficult.
How did the new bike work?
I am very happy because I think it's very, very good. Because in Italy, when I start with this bike, I win. And the second time that I driving this bike, I win another one time. And maybe for Thierry Michaud and other riders, I think that now I'm riding more good also with my bike.
Well, once again, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Canada.
See you in Canada.
As you watch the results on your screen, I'll give you the new world standings, which includes the results of this event. Thierry Michaud was still first with 65 points. Diego Bozas moved up to second with 64. Jordi Terrace now third with 63. Steve Saunders dropped down to fourth with 58. Donato Miglio fifth with 46. Philippe Berladier sixth with 36. Seventh, Tommy Avila with 33. Eighth, Peter Jan with 28. Ninth, Renato Gilberto with 27. And 10th, Eddie Lejeune with 26. And a big thanks to the Southeastern Trials Riders Association for putting on this excellent world round. Your efforts and work for this memorable 3-day weekend will be appreciated and remembered. The next event Action Video will cover will be the Canadian round to be held next weekend. Thanks for your support.